Hey there, welcome back to the channel. You can see I've got a flat tire on the Janus. The weather's getting nice, so I need a center stand to lift this up and get it off. Let's get to it. It's not super obvious, but I think the best place to lift this is right by this bar here. This tube runs all the way across between the two frame pieces. So from here over to here. So that's going to be the lift point that we have to work around. Probably come down here and then either do a lever or just some sort of a frame that looks a lot like a jack stand that I can lift it up and set it on. We'll make that decision as we build it. I've never made a stand like this before, but how hard can it be? If we assume that this is that tube on the motorcycle from the side, we've got this. What we want to do is lift it up by this. And I figure if we go with a lever, so we're going to go here, then we'll have a leg that comes down and then up. So as we turn this, it lifts like this. The key is that this leg, when it lifts, needs to come past vertical. So it lifts up and goes past vertical, and then the leg that comes out here actually comes against the ground, and that's what holds it up, right? So we go like this, and it goes like that. And then this here is keeping it from moving down. And then you should be able to just lift it up past that pivot point and set the bike back down. So in theory, that should work. So we just need to measure the distance here for up in the air. We'll have to give it a little bit of space so that when it's sitting here, the rear tire is in the air. And then this angle will be less than 90, enough to do this. We'll figure that out though. Right now, I want this piece and then a pivot. Now, we don't want just a straight piece because we don't want the bike tipping this way. So we probably need a couple of them, and I'm thinking come down in like a triangle and then maybe to a round piece down here that will be the pivot. So maybe even another piece of this drawn over mandrel or something down on the floor. Hopefully this will demonstrate a little bit better. Cut this piece, this will be the pivot that sits on the ground. And this is that saddle that sits underneath the bike. So when it's in the air, we want this, the straight up and down, normal to the ground, to be over on this side. So when we lift it, it's going to start here. And then as we rotate, it comes over to here. So in rest position, I want from here down, I just measured it on the bike, about 9 inches. It looks like it's about 7 right now with the flat tire, so I figure if I go 9 or 10 here, that should work. So I just have to get the distance here when this is about 10 inches. And then I want this saddle to be fairly straight, level here. That means it'll be actually pointed kind of that direction over here. But want it kind of straight up and down when it gets to this point. It might actually even be tipped a little bit this way. Again, this is design build, so we'll figure that out. But I'll measure this, and then I need a couple of legs here. And then really we just need a short leg over here that acts as that other piece of the stand. And then a handle can come off of here, and it can be a separate piece, whatever. So let's measure this, then measure that distance, cut some of those, and figure out how to weld them in. So I've rough cut them. what I plan on doing is I'll attach down here and here, then get that point there on the center line, then probably fully weld the bottoms, cut it across the top again flat, and then add that piece. I think this is about where I want it. This, if you go normal to the ground, is about 1.5 inches behind this center of gravity or tipping point here, this fulcrum. So we'll weld it in there and then put on a leg down here and see if that'll work. Before I even bother putting all of the handle and stuff on, I can just verify that I can put this under the bike, lift the bike up, set it on it. If it'll hold it, that's good enough. Most of the measurements on this don't really make a lot of difference. The height, if it's up 1/2 inch or down 1/2 inch, as long as it gets the tire off the ground, doesn't make a whole lot of difference. Same thing for that angle off of, center. As long as it's past center, so that the weight of the motorcycle is on the stand, again, that doesn't really make a lot of difference. What does make a difference is that this, which sits on the ground, is parallel to this bar on the motorcycle. That is important. That's what this jig here does. Turned out to be about 5.5 inches here. And so we've got this angle. I don't know what it is. I just eyeballed it. Whatever that angle is the angle it is. I'm going to square it off here just because it doesn't necessarily need to be, but then I'll tack that in place, then go again test fit before I weld everything. We can't have a second leg because we have to be able to slide this thing under the bike and get it up here, and it would run into the tire or the frame, things like that. So really it can only be one, and I'll probably end up gusseting across here as well. Clears the frame, reaches under there, no problem. Looks like it'll be good. Then it comes out pretty easily as well. So we just slide it in, lift it up, like that. So let's go do some final welding on this, get it built, then we can worry about the lever. I just cut a piece of scrap, 1/4 by 2 inch flat bar. I'll use that to gusset across here. Should make it strong enough. Considering it's only about a 300-pound bike, this should be more than strong enough to hold it up. So far it seemed to work out well. It fits under the bike, does everything I'd like it to do. The issue I'm running into now is this leg is underneath the bike where I can't really get my foot on it. I can't push down on it in any way. So there's no way to get the bike to rock up onto this. I want to keep this thing as compact as possible. I don't want a giant tool that's always getting in the way in the shop. So if it can be not much bigger than this, that's ideal. Been thinking what I'll do is I'm going to take a piece of round bar here. I'm going to put it on there, but I'm going to drill a hole through it so it's 1/2 inch hole, make it just long enough that I can then run a bolt through it. This bolt will stick out like this. And then I can take a lug nut, tighten that lug nut down onto it, like that, and then I can use a socket and a breaker bar that stick out, out past the frame anyway. So it'll deep socket, then a breaker bar, and then I can adjust it or even use a ratchet and a pipe or whatever, something along those lines. But if this is on here and it just has a hole in it, it keeps it inside this same footprint. And then I can just add this bolt and this nut whenever I need it. And I can just leave it in there for storage if it's not in the way. But it lets me keep it fairly small, and that'll give me leverage out here and allow for a long handle. So I'm going to give that a try. Hopefully it'll work out. So here's that chunk of round bar. Just bored it out to 1/2 inch. This will get welded in right here. Then I'm going to just slide that through. Run this nut down on. And then take, I think it's probably a 13 or a 15/16 socket, put it on here, put a breaker bar or whatever on that, and that will get me out past the edge of the frame, I'm hoping. Let's get that attached and give it a try. So the idea is, slide it up under, put it underneath the bike, and take something like that, put it on there. It extends it out past the frame and gives me some leverage point to push down on. There wasn't really enough room over by the bike to get the camera in so you could see me try it, but we'll say that the first attempt was a pretty good failure. And here is the problem. The weight of the bike is here, and look, if I push down, it doesn't take much at all to do that. Because if we draw a line between these 2 points, anything this side of that line is going to want to make it tip, and that line, somewhere around halfway. So it doesn't take much weight at all from the bike to do that. So the bike lifted up, went back like this, hit, and just kept right on going. So I'm going to have another leg sticking out here. I did do some measurement. I can get another leg this same length, so I'll probably put it in here. And in fact, I don't know, I might even angle it outward. It would give us a even better, trapezoid. In hindsight, it would have been better to have this one angled out as well. Live and learn. I can't take that apart, so I'll put this one in, and I might, like I say, come out at some sort of an angle. Give me even a wider base that it sits on. Crap. A little bit of gas would help. Well, of course, we had a little bit of weld draw there, and now it's uneven. Damn it. I'll give it a try. I can always straighten that out. That's some solid progress. This works really well. I can lift the bike up. It sits up on here. The one thing I don't really like is it's not super stable. It's stable enough, but if somebody comes by and bumps into it, it might tip off. So this I'd like to make wider. Unfortunately, that tube has a couple of flanges or something along it on each side. That's why it's this width here. But what I'd like to do is extend this here and this here, leaving a gap for those flanges to come down in, something about like that. This will make it wider to make it a little bit more supportive of the frame of the motorcycle. So I'm going to, I don't know, put something like this on here, and then put this on, tack it in place so that I've got it at the right spot. Do the same thing over here. I'll use this bar just to make sure that we're at the same height. So something about like that. And then I'll test fit it again. there we go. That's all there is to it. Thanks for watching.